to the Killer Author Club, and boy, do we have a fun episode for you tonight. So yes, we're the Killer Authors. I'm here with Killer Kara Ruda and Killer Kimberly Belle, and we all came together this past winter because we all had books coming out at about the same time, and we thought, let's get together and do something kind of fun. So we have been coming together these last few months to interview some of our favorite thriller writers and sharing some of the book love with you. So thank you all for being here. Please remember to follow all our Facebook pages as well as our Killer Author Club YouTube channel. And so make sure you stop in all those places and show us a little love by following us.
And you get to win prizes if you do.
That's right. Yes. If you do all those things, there could be a prize, fabulous prize in your future. And also, as we move forward tonight, remember to leave comments because we love to hear from you. We want to know you're here. We're very interactive. Please ask questions. And without further ado, Kara is going to introduce our fabulous lineup of guests today.
Yeah, so we have this, really dynamic team of women who came together to write our it's really like such a fun story. And if you are wondering why we're all dressed like this, the book was set in the 80s. And so, yeah, that is why we have big hair. We have sparkles. Heather has a bat on her head. I'm just kidding. She's a great Madonna. Great. So, yeah. So, okay, I'm going to introduce the author guests. And here's a little bit about each of our killer authors. So first, I have Cate. Cate Holahan is a USA Today bestselling author of domestic suspense novels, including her 3 lives. Her 3 lives. I have she lives in New Jersey with her husband and 2 daughters and spends a disturbing amount of time highly caffeinated, mining her own anxieties for material. And this is like a snapshot of Cate back in the 80s.
I love it.
Love it.
Yeah. Layne Fargo is the author of the novels They Never Learn and Temper and co-creator of the Unlikable Female Characters podcast on Lit Hub Radio. She lives in Chicago with her partner and their pets. And next we have Vanessa Lillie. Vanessa is the Amazon bestselling author of Little Voices and For the Best. She's a board member of Sisters in Crime and regularly contributes to the Providence Journal. She's a member of the Oklahoma Cherokee Nation, and she now lives in Providence, Rhode Island with her husband, and I love this, sloth-obsessed son. And last but not least, one of our founding members of the Killer Author Club, Kimberly Belle. Kimberly is the USA Today and internationally best-selling author of 7 novels, including My Darling Husband and The Marriage Lie. Kimberly divides her time between Atlanta and Amsterdam. So welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're here.
Yay.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. So excited. So before we get started, talking about young rich widows, we have to know what everybody's drinking. So I know that you submitted this great cocktail called the Aviator.
The Aviation.
Aviation. You have, yeah, there we go. So tell us a little bit about why you chose this one.
Cate, you tell, because Cate, you do it because you chose this one. You found it.
So I chose it because, the whole premise of our book is that these women, all their significant others, die in a plane crash. So as a nod to that, I thought the Aviation, which was so named because Violet, Crème de Violette, which actually doesn't really exist anymore, but it used to come from France. Now they only have derivatives of it. But it had this purple color, and when you mixed it with the gin and the I think it's a cherry, what is it, Marciano liqueur, right? Yeah. It would have this sky blue color. So the derivatives now have more of a purple color, but that's okay. And so that's the drink.
Awesome. Yeah. So what are all of you drinking that tonight, or do you have different?
I kind of winged it because I'm not a gin gal, so mine has a little bit of vodka in it and some cranberry, and I just kind of made it look a little bit like it, but it's delicious.
And it looks good on camera. That's all that matters. Yeah.
That's good. Beautiful. Yes. Kara, what are you drinking? Anything tonight?
Oh man, you know what? I'm always drinking wine.
It's the easiest.
I'm the most boring person. I don't have like all that stuff to mix everything, and I need to step up my game. How about you, Heather? What are you drinking tonight?
This is totally not 80s, but I have a Moscow Mule tonight, so that's what I have. I figured if I was going to go 80s, I'd have to go like find some Purple Passion or some wine coolers, and I just can't do that anymore.
Oh yeah, that stuff was terrible.
Wine coolers. Oh my god.
Wine coolers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people who are showing up already. So gosh, we've got
we do. And can I do one quickie shout out? Because who's this person? Lynn McQueenie Blue, Johnson City. I grew up in Kingsport, and that picture you saw on my thing was from Sullivan South High School, which no longer exists. But yeah,
where you were a cheerleader,
right around the corner. Sorry.
That's great. Yeah, there's like 31 comments already. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of comments and questions. Okay, there we go.
I have a coaster. So we all have coasters for our drinks.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
So
yeah.
cute.
I'm like afraid to put a drink on it. It's too
I know,
pretty.
me too. It's pretty.
I have it in my office, but I don't want to get anything on it.
You guys have swag galore. I love it. It's great. It's great. Oh, and there's Georgina's here.
Regina's
Hello.
here. We've got some hello from Georgia. We've got Iowa.
Yay.
Oh, we've got Philly here.
Woo.
Yeah.
We're all over the place.
We
So
are all over the place.
Yes. So quick summary of the book, and then we'll really get into it. So we've got these 4 partners in a law firm who may or may not be affiliated with the mob, and their plane goes down in a hail of smoke and fire, and on board is $4 million, and they leave behind their grieving loved ones behind. And so this is really a story about how they cope with what happened with the plane crash. They find out secrets that their loved ones had, and they have to find that money, or there's really bad consequences. So that's going to take us to our killer question today.
Oh, is it? Okay, hold on. I've got it right here. I was over on the comments. It's seamless. It's a seamless operation.
Yes.
Okay, you guys, for Rich Widows, the question is, who do you kill? So at the Killer Author Club, we really like to talk about killing first, as opposed to like anything else about the story. So I'm not sure who wants to start. Maybe Vanessa, you could answer our killer question and tell us, who do you kill?
In the book? Or
fictionally speaking, we don't really want to know about any real life.
You gotta be clear.
It would be really, really awkward if you confessed to something. Then I don't know what we'd do at that point. But yes, in fiction, who do you like to kill?
I tend to like to kill people who maybe don't always deserve it. So that makes it a little more interesting. I'm always a big fan of the morally gray area. So, neither good nor bad. And then you have to kind of figure out where you land.
Yeah, which makes it to me, it makes it more interesting for a reader, right? Because if you don't know, somebody's not all good or all bad, it's more interesting. I agree. So thank you. Good answer. Okay, Layne, who do you kill?
I like to kill men. I won't specify if it's in the book or in real life. My last book, They Never Learn, was about a female serial killer who hunts rapists, and I just keep killing men in all my books, and I'm not sorry.
No, I can totally see that. It makes perfect sense to me, actually. Yeah. So, Cate, who do you kill?
Liars. I like to kill liars. One, because uncovering a lie is always, there's the betrayal, and also it's part of the mystery, right? That's the fun for the reader. And I think it's satisfying at the end when somebody who has done something bad and then kept lying to cover it up kind of gets their justice.
Right. Especially if it's a man too. I think
Bonus.
I thought you said lawyers, and I was like, lawyers, right?
Well,
they're also kind of liars.
Yeah.
I feel like it was satisfying.
Okay, and Kimberly, finally to you, who do you kill?
Well, we did kill off 4 lawyers, like on page 1, I think. So we definitely also kill lawyers. But, you know, I think in all my books, I'm thinking back, I like to kill people who the readers are going to maybe not want to die. I think that that's always, especially if you can do it in a way that's a little bit of a surprise. Those are the interesting kind of deaths in fiction in my books.
Yes, and we are talking fiction. People, we promise we are.
Mostly.
Yeah.
And I loved in the audio how you know, we don't really get to know the lawyers like on the page so much. It's through the eyes of their loved ones. And even though they were certainly flawed, I guess is a good word. They were loved, and their loss was really impacted the characters in this story. And you really brought that to life, and how even though it's very complicated relationships, they were mourned, and deeply mourned, and that just really added a neat layer to the story. That we didn't get to know those characters really, except through the eyes of who they left behind.
Yeah. And, and it also put these women because of it. Well, Vanessa, you need to tell about where this idea came from, because it didn't just come out of nowhere.
How do you killers get together and come up with a killer story?
So I was lonely in the pandemic. And I have had this idea for a little while, this idea that it's because my husband is a lawyer, and he when he was like joining his law firm, he just mentioned that, the partners can't travel together anymore because if like something happened to them, like the law firm would like go to the spouses or whatever, like legally, something like that. And being a writer, that just like stuck in my head. And so I'd always had this idea, like, what would it be like if all of a sudden, these women just take over a law firm and they maybe like don't like each other and there's like suspicious circumstances. And so it'd always been in the crack pot of my brain. And so the idea of an audiobook came up, and a lot of audiobooks from Audible especially are short stories, which is great. But I've never written a short story. So I thought, well, what if I sort of write one, but it's a part of a novel and I have 3 other co-writers? So I reached out to 3 writers whose work I loved, I'd met and totally vibed with, and I thought our voices would fit. And this is the most important thing. We'd have a lot of fun. Because as I mentioned, it was just like lonely days in the pandemic, and I really just wanted to like have a lot of fun. And like, writing can be hard and lonely, and we really tried to have a ton of fun writing this and just go completely over the top. So that's where that came from. And in the 80s, because the 80s are fabulous. And like, why not just be transported back to big hair and fabulousness?
And then I saw all these pictures come in of you guys in the 80s. I'm the grandmother of the group, apparently.
Me too.
You guys were like 2. I'm like, they don't even remember the 80s.
They were babies in the 80s. What are they even talking about?
Well, can you tell us about your characters that you wrote about? Did you each take a certain character and write that throughout, and maybe introduce the characters and tell us a little bit about each one?
Sure. So you want me to take that one? I can start off. So Vanessa was wonderful because in addition to bring us all together, she had like an idea of what characters would be in this book, but then really let us then run with them and make them our own. So that was great. And my character, Justine, is a biracial American woman in 1986 in Providence. So she's kind of dealing with in addition to reeling from her husband's death. Oh, and she's a mom. right? And she also left her like glamorous life in New York behind to kind of be this traditional mom, which she, you know, thinks is kind of like in the 80s. There's still that feeling with feminism of like, well, what do you pursue? And is it a choice? There wasn't quite a feeling yet of we can have it all. And so she does that, and she's lost a lot of herself in the process. So in addition to kind of mourning everything, I think Justine has to figure out how she can reconnect with who she was and how that can be helpful to figuring out what to do next and help the other widows solve this crime.
You go, Layne. You tell yours now.
Okay. My character is Meredith, and she is a stripper, which was like literally the first thing I said to Vanessa when she proposed this character to me. I was like, can she be a stripper? That's all I wanted. She is involved with the only female partner at the law firm. Meredith's bisexual, as I am. And they've had this sort of, like, from Meredith's perspective, it was almost this fairy tale sort of relationship where like Robin, her girlfriend, showed up at the club one night with a bunch of businessmen and like flirted with Meredith and put like $100 bill in her G-string, and very, I don't know, like Pretty Woman vibes almost. But then she's also kept Meredith from meeting her friends and her coworkers. And as the book starts, Meredith is supposed to go to the holiday party at the law firm and meet all of these ladies and Robin's coworkers for the first time. So it was interesting as a queer person, like thinking about what it would have been like to be queer at that time. I mean, obviously they couldn't legally be married. Meredith has a bunch of paperwork available to prove that she owns Robin's part of the law firm. She's got like all the receipts, but that was an interesting mindset to get into. And Meredith is just, she's like a badass. She doesn't take any shit. She's, I don't know, it was a lot of fun to write her. She's very sarcastic and business savvy and a lot of attitude.
And I wrote,
you go.
Yeah, I wrote Crystal. So Crystal is Italian American, which Providence, especially in the 80s, was just a big Italian American. It's really kind of celebrated culture. I mean, there's the mob side of it too, because it was a super mobbed up town. But, you know, there's also neighborhood, just like big Italian neighborhoods and restaurants. And it just had, you know, this whole kind of feeling. So I was excited to get to write that character as sort of this quintessential Italian American character for Providence. And Crystal is like originally from the Hill, which is the Italian area of Providence. She's moved to the fancy East Side with her husband. They're raising their boys, trying to be, you know, as they would like say in Rhode Island, oh, you think you're better than me? So like just trying to be a little bit, you know, fancy. She's got dreams, ambitions, and she's sort of always like pushing her husband to do more and be bigger and be better. And she's also like brassy and tells you how it is. I pictured like Bette Midler while I was writing her. Who I just love anyway, but just really wanted her to just be this like kind of matriarchal, bossy, but like with a lot to learn character. And she has like a little bit of a love interest, which just like kind of popped up out of nowhere while I was writing, which yes, she's like a sad mourning widow, but there's just a flirtation with someone who's mobbed up. Was a lot of fun to write. And since we're having fun, like we had to throw a little romance in there and, you know, spice it up a little.
Yeah. I love it. And my character is Camille. She is the trophy wife of the group. She is, you know, the younger second wife, kind of a bombshell. She's also actually sleeping with one of the other partners, which is something that comes out after the plane crash. So, you know, she's one of those women who's not above using her body and her, you know, sexiness to get what she wants, and what she wants is money and stability. And we also learn, did we lose some And what we also learn as the story progresses is, you know, she also really just wants love and friendship and let's see if we can get her back. There she is. She's back.
It's magic. We're just switching chairs.
All right.
You guys
I do think all the widows are really lonely. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we knew that starting out, but they
Maybe we
friends.
personally were lonely.
Is that what happened?
All came out during the writing. We're like so isolated and alone. And all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put all that emo.
Yeah. They were all dealing with, they were all dealing with it. And I guess, it's normal to be lonely when your spouse gets blown up in a plane and, dealing with all that. But there were issues before that too, with all the women in their relationships. And they also have to learn, because they're very different and they wouldn't normally be friends. They probably wouldn't even choose to be in the same room together until this happens and they're forced together. And they have to figure out not just, how to get along, but also how to get along in a way that's going to save their behinds, because the mob wants their $4 million back.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Such a great premise. Great job, guys.
So fun.
Really. And like we found doing the Killer Author Club, I mean, pandemic did feel a lot less lonely when you're able to like do something collaborative and work as a team. And it almost like, to me, it almost helps like spark creativity, because you're able to like share some of that loneliness and then like work together on a project. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I see some shout out. Can I give a shout out? I just saw Brad Spoon from Audio Shelf Me and Dennis from Scared Straight Reads, my Bookstagram buddies. Got to give some shout outs.
I know.
We're
really bad at getting to the comments in the right spot, but we're working on this. Just don't. When Killer Heather leaves the stage, I'm like, wow. Okay, but
I see a lot of people asking about our process.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who wants to do it?
I'll just kick off a little point, which is we got really lucky, because there's generally kind of two large camps of writers. There's writers who just kind of sit down and write, and they have such a sense of plot that they're able to kind of just put it down. Then there's others that really need to sit down and plan. And there's different spots, different beats, different turning points. And luckily, by pure coincidence, we are all plotters, because that would have been really hard if one of us had been a pantser, because that's what process you kind of need. So that was key, because we love plotting. And I know and we not only love it, but we love plotting. So I know Kim was like a reputation for being a great plotter. Layne has read like every plotting book in the world. Cate is like spreadsheets galore. So
color-coded spreadsheets.
Oh my God.
We meant it. We plotted this book. So that's my
Heather and I are getting a headache.
Well, I'm so happy
We're pantsers.
we were all able to use our OCD for good. But also, I just think the other thing is, but it's not just like we did the plot and we wrote it. We I think had a method of, we would plot and then we would write every week those chapters, because your characters do develop as you write. And then we would go back and kind of tear up my beautiful spreadsheets and and redo it. And so I think there was this balance that we all got comfortable with, which was plotting and then letting the characters develop and then adjusting. So we were never sitting there going, well, I'm going to force you into this plot point. It was always this, the way they're developing, they wouldn't do that. So what would they do? And also, and then there was Vanessa occasionally just being like, I had a vision.
I saw a yacht.
Yes,
wolves. More wolves.
Happened, and it came to me, and then we would all sit there and go, okay, well, how can her, subconscious be joined with the rest of our realities? and we would and we would figure it out, but I love that we had this constant communication with the plot, where we made our roadmap and then we would rip it up and we'd make it more, and we still managed to do it with a chapter a week from each of us, which still hit that deadline, which was great. But I think involved like a lot of flexibility. So we needed the rigid plotters in us, and we also needed the ability to kind of be like, okay, all right. I see that this character is not where I thought they would be. So what can we do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So we had we each wrote a chapter a week. So that's 4 chapters a week, which, that's a lot. I can't do that by myself, that many that fast. And then we would have a weekly Zoom where we would talk through the 4 chapters and talk about the plot for the next 4 chapters, and just kind of adjust from there. But it was a process that worked really well. And we got to hang out on Zoom all day in the middle of a pandemic.
I know, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was
I'm so happy for you guys.
It was like the most fun Zoom calls ever. Like usually sitting on Zoom all day does not sound fun, but it was in this case. And it also, by the end of it, because I mean, we're all great plotters and great editors, I would say, especially Cate on both counts, we would read each other's chapters and give feedback. So by the time we had a draft to send to Audible, it was like a 5th draft or something. I mean, we'd just gone over it so many times, and
Super tight.
our actual edits from our editor were like copy edits, basically. It was so fast.
Yeah.
It's the easiest book I've ever written.
Yeah.
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 So I say that we should
about
all be in the
12
writer's
weeks.
room when it turns into a television show.
Yes, it was like a writer's room. It was absolutely like that. It was just like we would bounce off of each other and come up with better and better ideas and more complex plot twists. And it was just, so much fun.
I think it took, was it 12? So like we had to do a couple pretty heavy sessions of plotting, like the spreadsheet. And then once we kind of got going, was it 12 weeks or 9 weeks?
I think it was shorter.
Yeah, I
Like
think it was
10,
like
9 or
12
10
weeks from the very beginning, from like doing the spreadsheet. And
Yeah, maybe
everything.
with the spreadsheet and everything, because we started around the holidays. Anyway, it was so fast. Like, and it was, and because we were editing the whole time, we got done with it. And we're like, is this really good? Like 2 months. What is going on?
We were done with it before our contract with Audible was finalized, so we had to just like hold on to it until
we had to wait to send it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
I forgot.
How did they choose the, did you get a chance to have some input on the narrators? Because they were perfect. Each one just totally exemplified each of the characters. How did that work?
They gave us each a list of 2 or 3 per character that they said, what do you guys think? And we sent back our first, second, maybe third choices. But I think we all got our first choices, didn't we? Yeah. So that was great. Yeah.
Spot on.
I learned a small world thing too, that who I love, the narrative for Crystal, who is the great
Dina Perlman.
Dina Perlman, yes. She's amazing. My narrator, Ariel Blake for Justine is also amazing. But Dina Perlman went to my high school.
How
Yeah.
funny.
So we just, it was this weird, you just, like, I don't know, small world. But I felt very, like, everything about this book felt very serendipitous, no?
Right. Yeah.
It did.
Okay, there's a question about the book cover. Yeah, did you guys all have the same idea for the book cover? Is the question.
I mean, we knew we wanted, I think I had pushed neon pretty hard.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think,
That's so pretty.
and then the thing that I think really nails it is, well, the cherry kind of being a bomb is awesome, but the font on Young Rich Widow.
Yeah.
So good.
That's all our designer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Very.
Yeah, and they kind of hit it right out of the park first time around. We tweaked the colors a little bit, but I mean, that was pretty much it, right? From the get-go.
Yeah, it was just the colors. They had sent us a couple things where we were like, we like this design, but maybe different colors. And then this was like version 2 and it was perfect.
Yeah.
So, which never happens.
We're like sending stuff to make stickers like before it's even approved. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
Layne was like, the background needs to be black.
Listen.
Like, after that,
looks great, though.
The background's not black.
I'm trying to adjust to the like neon and bright colors. I'm trying to grow, but
As long as you have the black there. Yeah. It's very grounded in the black.
So I see this one coming through a lot too about the format, the audio format. So right now it's an Audible original, which means it's really only on Audible, and it is an audiobook. But I think, I can't remember exactly how long it has to stay Audible original, and then we can see about maybe getting it in a year. So for the first year.
It'll be a minute.
Yeah.
But if you do download the Audible app, even for a free trial, it's free. So our book is free. It's part of the subscription. So
Right.
I actually have talked to a couple of people, and this was like the first audiobook that they'd listened to, and they really liked it, especially if I can recommend, like, listen to it while you're like doing laundry or like doing yard work. Like, I love listening to audiobooks when I'm kind of doing stuff. It's not necessarily my reading time, but it turns into my reading time.
Yeah.
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 I binged it when it came out because I wanted to hear. And you know, there is something an audiobook brings, and I say this like with an asterisk, because obviously most of my books are print books, but there were times where I was sitting there walking the dog and I was like crying, and then there were other times where I was crying with laughter in a way that I wouldn't have been, I think, had I read it, because these actresses really do bring their own talent and their own, you know, sensibilities to these characters that does add another dimension.
I agree.
So there were times where I was sitting there and I'm like, and I mean, here it is. I know how it ends, right? Like, why am I like tearing up, or like, why am I laughing like it's the first time I heard that joke? And I think it's because, you know, they really did bring something where I would lose. I was able to lose myself, you know? And so, so for what it's worth, it does add a dimension. I totally
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's that time for the giveaway. So we have our killer giveaway, and the Young Rich Widows are so kind that they're going to give away 2 copies of the audiobook for some lucky winners. And in order to win, you have to do a few things. One is please follow all of us on our Facebook pages, and please subscribe to our Killer Author Club YouTube channel and answer this question. And the question is, what decade does the Young Rich Widows take place in? All you need to do is drop your answer in the comments, and we'll leave that up for about 24 hours. So people who are coming a little late to the party have a chance to watch the video and then answer that question as well. So the question is, what decade is Young Rich Widows does it take place in?
I love it.
So, and it is only on Audible, and so we will make sure we get a link to the Audible site so people can click on that easily and pick up their copy as well.
Yeah, which is what's coming up right now. So that's what we were talking about. So you can find it's exclusively on Audible. And yeah, Heather said we're going to drop the link in here and you can find it. And it really is, if you haven't listened to an audiobook before, it's such a different way to get engrossed in a world and in a story. And especially when you have a fast moving story with all these different narrators, I mean, you'll just lose yourself and then the laundry will be done. Or the dog will be barking at you, which is what's happening in my house. And I really apologize. I'm here by myself with 2 dogs. So anyway, don't think he's shredding the curtains, because he is right now. It's fine. Okay, fine. Everything's good. Okay, anyway. Okay, you guys, for coming on to our show, Heather has a presentation for you.
Yes. So we are so very grateful that you were able to join us. And as a token of our thanks, we bestow upon you the Killer Author Club I Survived badge. And so we will be sending this to you. We expect that you will print it off, cut it out, and staple it to your chest to wear in public. Yeah. So thank you.
We have to get that down too. Sometimes it like shows up like as a halo over people. Sometimes it just obliterates our guests, which it did too. Sorry, Kimberly Layne. It's a very aggressive badge, but it's a happy badge. It's a happy badge. Takes over the screen sometimes. We don't even know what it's going to do. Yes. So thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, we really
thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
Yeah, and much success. It's going to be a huge hit.
It is.
Thank you.
It's going to be great. Okay, and finally, oh my gosh, okay. So now, this is our. All right, you guys. this is our next author teaser section. So on April 26th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Central, and 6 Pacific, this author has her third novel, and she's our next victim. And she may have unlocked a new level of fictional discourse on the true crime industrial complex. How's that for some praise? An examination of how flattening people into stories and churning them through the true crime milieu creates lasting intergenerational damage. An exceedingly entertaining book to look at how corrosive family bonds can become. And that's from the New York Times, not me.
I was going to say, wow, you should write
You guys
this for a
impressed?
living.
Okay, it wasn't me. It wasn't. But anyway, okay. Thanks again to the Young Rich Widows for being here. Please go on Audible and pre-order. And everybody have a very good night. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you, everybody.